Now, the next step that we're going to get into will be doing relationships. I'm going to skip over privilege sets. And as mentioned earlier, the reason for that is because I don't really want to recreate all of the privilege sets from all of the different files in the original set. And it's actually easier, I think, depending on how they're set up, of course, in the original files, to manually set those up yourself in your new file later on. So we're going to skip over that, and we're going to go to relationships next. Now, when you do this, it's just going to tell you that you need to select a DDR first. So I'll just come over here and I will browse back to my database design report XML files, and I'll select again the first one. And just like before, we're going to go through each one of these in turn, skipping over the summary, so that we do each of our individual, bring over each of our individual relationships into our new master file. So I'll just double click on that, and I'll switch to relationships. What we're going to do down here is we're going to again select the file that we want to set as our target, which is this informative people file down here. And now I'm going to click on here, and then it opens up the master table. It finds what it needs to find, and then it lets me know that we have these relationships that all belong to the first file, which is the ACT file. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to bring all of these relationships over and put them and set them up in our relationship graph. So I'm going to tell it to check all of those to bring them all over. And there's an option to add a relative file reference to the file references for external files. As long as you are bringing all of the tables from your original solution into a new master table, when everything is said and done, you're not going to have any external files, so you shouldn't need any relative path references. However, if you think you do, then you would check this box down here. But in this case, we're not going to do that. So let me bring this over here. It'll make it a little bit easier to look at later. And now I'll just click the Create Selected Relationships and then take my hand off the mouse. And as you can see now, it's actually working on the ACT file, and it's adding the relationships that go to that one at a time. I ran some experiments trying this first without creating all of the table occurrence files manually like we did earlier, but I wasn't having any luck with that, and I've spoken to a few people who've been thrown off by this as a problem. So really the easiest thing to do is what we did, is to go in and create each one of those table occurrences by hand first, and then FM Robot seems to have no trouble doing that. So we completed the first one, and then we would browse to the second one in the list, select that, and everything else being the same, we can now work on this. And so this is going to be our next one that we do. So this is working on the archive file. We'll select all of the relationships and create those. Now, a word of warning. Because all of the table occurrences have not yet been mapped during this process, whenever it goes through this edit relationship dialog box, what it is not able to configure is the sort records option if you've selected that for a particular relationship. So you will have to come back through each one of these that has the sort record options selected for the relationship and manually configure that yourself later on. Anyway, we've completed this process for a couple of these. I'm going to let you go ahead and do the rest yourself, and when you're done, we'll come back and we'll move on to the next step.